My friend Dorcas. And Dorcas, you live in Liverpool, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's a lovely afternoon. The clouds are in the way, but the sun is shining. And I would like to know, what on earth are you doing in the middle of Southport when you could be on a sunny beach in Australia?
Well, so I'm here with a bunch of other Christians.
You're here with a bunch of other Christians people.
Who are really excited to tell people
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Good Friday
Right.
and what Good Friday means to Christians.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Dorcas, you said that you're here with a group of Christian people.
Yeah.
Now, let's just ask, do you mind asking questions about your own faith?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So you believe that there's a God, is that right?
I do believe there's a God. Yes.
And if somebody said to you, Dorcas, why do you believe there's a God? Could you tell them a reason why might you believe there is a God? Because when we turn our TV sets on and when we watch YouTube and things, we get lots of people telling us there's no God. And if you go to one of our atheistic cathedrals called secondary schools in Britain, you'll be told that there's no God whatsoever. So why might Dorcas believe there is a God?
Yeah, so by God's grace, I believe there is a God. If I look around, I can see that God somebody has made the world. There's even a Bible verse that talks about how if you look around, you can see that there is a creator and that they've created somebody that's very intelligent has created the world around us, the universe, in fact. But my understanding of God and the concept of God came from the concept of God as Jesus, God as the Son.
So you're saying, Dorcas, one of the reasons why you believe there's a God is the same reason why there's an architect behind VHS.
Yes.
In other words, VHS once had an architect. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you met the architect who designed VHS?
I haven't, but I know that you need an architect to create any building.
That's right. So there's a mind behind what we've got. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now, Dorcas, just tell us who's in your family. Have you any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have a few brothers, a few sisters. I'm one of 6 kids. We're a big bunch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you have a very unusual sort of job. Well, if I can call it a job, profession.
Profession, yes. Well,
Tell the people what you do.
It depends which one you're talking about. I feel like when you say unusual, you're talking about my creative endeavours.
Oh, aye, that's the big word. Creative endeavours.
But most of the time you'll find me in a school teaching performing arts and communication skills.
So you do some teaching of performing arts in Liverpool,
Yes.
and then you do filmmaking.
And
or
I
what?
do a bit of performing myself, so
Right.
yeah, a bit of poetry, a bit of singing, a bit of acting.
Good for you. Well, we won't put you on the spot to play Britain's Got Talent.
It's all right.
There we go. Now look, Dorcas, so you really believe there is a God. Can you tell me, are you a Christian just because your mum and dad were Christians?
No, I'm not. I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. Though I was raised in a Christian home.
Yeah.
That's not why I became a Christian. It was actually hearing the gospel and understanding it for
Where
myself.
were you born, Dorcas?
I was born in Congo.
In the Congo?
Yeah, Central Africa.
So you were born in Central Africa,
Yeah.
and what age did you come over to the greatest nation on earth?
When I was about 2. I
Right.
don't know. We could argue about what's great, but it is Great Britain, I suppose. So you
All
blame
right, so
yourself there.
There's me trying to tell her that the UK is a great argument. Okay.
I do like Britain, okay? I'm not hating on you.
Okay. Now, Dorcas, I'm going to ask you a really hard question, but I want you to promise to these good people. So this man here, with his Japanese hat on, all right? I want you to promise that you won't tell us any lies, because I could ask you a question and you could give me an answer that you don't really believe, but it's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
So what I want you to do is promise. Just a minute, can you just ask my backing band over there to be a little bit quiet? So could you just tell us or promise that you're not going to tell us any lies? So just tell these people if that's
Okay, so I'm here today to tell the truth.
Right.
Won't tell any lies.
Okay. Now look, let's say that today was your last day on planet Earth. Okay, let's say that was the end of it for you. Jesus said there's heaven, and he also said there's another place which is awful, hell. Of those two places, are you certain you know where you're going?
Yeah, I'm certain I know where I'm going. If I died today, I'd be certain that I'd go to heaven. And it's not to do with being a good person. I'd be the first person to tell you I'm not a good person.
Okay.
And God be my witness, he knows as well.
So you're saying, having said to the people you won't tell any lies, okay, you're saying that you really know or you believe that you will be in heaven.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Dorcas, you said that you didn't want to tell us any lies. Are you well paid?
No.
They all say that. They all say that, don't they? Are they well paid? Mr. Musk, are you well paid? Well, no, I could do with a bit more, you know. All right. But, okay. So you said you don't tell. Now, look, you believe there's a God just like you believe that behind a building there must be a builder and an architect.
Yeah.
And if you have a nice meal, guess what? There must be a cook. I mean, that's logical, isn't it? If you have a nice meal, somebody must have cooked it. Yeah?
Yeah.
So there must be a mind behind it.
Yeah.
But you're actually saying that your past that you've done has been forgiven.
Yeah, my
Now,
past.
here's my question, right? Because the man asked me this. Does God let everybody off? Yes or no?
I would say no.
No. And why do you say that?
Well, God has made a way for people to be forgiven,
Yes.
but it's those who trust and believe in Jesus Christ.
All right. So if we said we're going to give £100 to everybody who takes the £100 from our hand, does that mean everybody in Southport gets £100? So I say, everybody listening, you can have £100, £50 Dorcas, £50 me, £100. Does it mean that everybody gets £100? No. It's only those who take. If you get a prescription and you don't cash it in, do you know what? You don't get better. Because you don't actually take the medicine. All right. Now, Dorcas, last question is this. When you look at the world, we see a Mr. Putin, we see a Mr. Zelensky, we see a Mr. Trump, and we see a lot more trouble in the world. As a Christian, are you optimistic or pessimistic?
Bit of both, to be honest. A bit of both.
Well, what's the optimism and what's the pessimism?
I suppose when it comes to pessimism and looking at the world, I do see a lot of sin. When I say sin, a lot of wrongdoings, a lot of suffering, a lot of pain and injustice. And yeah, it seems repetitive. I know there's not a new under the sun, but yeah, in the present, it does feel like, you know.
What hope does somebody who says there's no God, I'm an atheist, then give when we've got weapons in our world? If angry men press them buttons, there's going to be a big mess.
Yeah.
So what hope does a person who doesn't believe there's any hope or any God have?
No. My understanding of somebody who is an atheist and believes that if somebody clicks the button and it's bang, then we're gone and it's just blackness and the end of consciousnness, and that their life didn't have any purpose in it and doesn't have any purpose or any meaning.
Yeah.
But I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
So even though we live in a world where there's a lot of suffering, a lot of injustice, my hope, because I have a hope in a living God, Jesus Christ, and a living heaven, or an existing heaven, I believe that I'll be going to a better place, a place where there won't be suffering, a place where there won't be injustice, and so on.
Okay, Dorcas, you've done great now. I'll let you down. In a minute, my friend Joe's coming on. But look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Here we go. Look, what comes next? This fella's meant to be thinking about it, right? So I ask you the question, what comes next? And I've got you several questions on you. So I'll just start with this good-looking man in the red jacket. So you've got AMJJ. What comes next?
AS.
AS. What do you think? AMJJ. If you don't know, ask your wife. Come on.
What's on here?
What are you going for? AMJJ. What comes next? He said, what did you say?
AS.
AS. What are you going for?
I'm going for BB.
While you think about it, April, May, June, July, AS. He's got it. He's got it. Okay. Clever lad, him. Clever lad. All right. So 1 to the South Africans, 0 to the Scouts. It's true. It's true. Okay, next one. Here we go. This is an easy one. That man there. MTTF. What comes next?
SS.
SS. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Correct. How about this one? This is a hard one. Dorcas, you can have this one. 1625. What's next?
Oh, 37. No, 36. No, 3. Oh,
The man at the back. The
3, 4,
mathematician at the back.
3, 4.
Yes. And the numbers on the die. On a dice. 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 4. Okay. Right, and you can work through. This is 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 13. And you can work out that. Now here's a good question. There you go. Life, then death. What comes next? It's a good question, isn't it? I mean, we all experience life. We've all got to face eternity. You've got to know where you're going, haven't you? You've got to know what it's all about, what'll happen next. You can know. And the reason you can know, ladies and gentlemen, is because somebody who's described as truth, I am the truth, can't let you down, and he can tell you how it all works. So I'm going to ask my friend Joe to stand here for a minute. Joe? So I won't ask any of these questions, Joe, because I don't want you doing resits and all the other things. But look, I said, what comes next? And then I said, life, then death. Now, do you know, according to you, Joe, what happens next? Let's say to me. So I'm on planet Earth, okay? What happens to me?
When you die?
When I die?
What? Knowing you as a person, or just as your Joe blogs?
No, I'm your friend.
I'm your friend, so I know that Vinny is going to heaven because he's trusted in Jesus.
Okay, so you're saying that when my life's over,
Yeah.
and this hits me, I'm okay because there's a place called heaven.
Yeah. Your shell will go in the ground, your body will go into the ground, and then the spirit, the life that's in you, the real Vinny Commons, will go up to be with the Lord.
Okay, now what about, let's say, somebody who says, I don't really believe in God, I don't think there is a God. Joe, what would happen to somebody who's done life, gone into death? What happens to that person?
Yeah, it's a very scary thing, but yeah, their shell will go into the ground, but their spirit will go to another place, a place of eternal darkness for all of eternity, a place called hell.
Okay, so you think that some people go to life everlasting and some people go to an awful place?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what I think, it's what Jesus said, you know?
Okay, so you think what Jesus thinks is true?
Yeah.
Okay, have you always thought this, Joe?
I think so, yeah. I think I've always believed in heaven and hell, yeah.
Okay. Joe, you make a lot of YouTube stuff, I know that, but if you could have 5 minutes with President Putin, so you've got the job, you've got 5 minutes to speak to President Putin. I'm going to ask you about President Trump in a minute. 5 minutes with Mr. Putin. What would you say to him? Hang on, this is a man who's got so many weapons, he can obliterate Europe. Yeah? And you've got 5 minutes, and he's done some awful things in this world. What would you tell him?
When you put it like that, I might say, can you talk to my friend Vinny? No, I might ask him a question. How much land is going to be enough land for you, Mr. Putin? I'd ask him, is there something inside of us, you know, that why is it you always want more? You've got all this power, all of this thing. Is there something in the soul that wants more? And
So
I think you need something bigger than God.
All right, so you'd ask him, when's he going to stop something?
Yeah.
Okay. That man there, you have 5 minutes for Mr. Putin. Okay. He's going to ask him about when do you want more? What would you ask him or say to him?
I would ask him about, does he know what's going to happen to him when he dies?
Does he know what's going to happen when he leaves the world? You'd ask him that. Okay, what would you ask him?
It would be, was it worth it? All these different things, is it worth it?
Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do you know what Jesus was asking? It's Putin, you've been a wicked man. Have you been forgiven? That's it. Because no matter what you've done in life, if Jesus has forgiven you, you'll rocket to heaven. You can't miss it, you'll rocket there. Joe, I just said there's a way out for us all, a place in heaven for us all if we trust Jesus. What age were you when you knew that you were forgiven, Joe?
18.
You were 18, and where were you in Preston?
Preston in my bedroom, yeah.
Okay, so you're 18 years of age, Joe. What did you hear when you were 18 that changed your life?
I just realised that I needed to stop running from God and that He could save me.
Okay, but what do you mean by He could save you?
He could save me from my sins because I'd done wrong. I realised there was a point where Jesus, all of the wrath was poured out on Jesus, all of the anger was poured out on Jesus, and it was for me. And I realised that I needed to stop running from that truth and I needed to trust in Him.
Okay. And when you meet the Lord Jesus, because you said you've been with Him in heaven, when you meet Him, Joe, have you any idea what you might say to Him?
Say thank you for dying for me, knowing what a mess I make every day.
Okay, lovely. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to just, before Joe just speaks, I want to tell you something. Look, let's imagine that I've got on myself here a life ring. Now, you might be stood there thinking, well, we don't have to imagine, Vinny, that's your third belly. No, it's a life ring, okay? And I start walking around Southport with my life ring. What response would I get from people? They go, who's that headbanger, wouldn't they? I've got my life ring. And people going, something wrong with it. If I was in the sea and I couldn't swim, and you threw me a life ring, would it look silly then? It wouldn't, would it? Because it depends where I am. Ladies and gentlemen, loads of people don't understand that God, who loves them, sees their sin, and they're in the sea of sin. And so He sends a lifeboat, a person, Jesus, to hang on a cross, to rescue Joe, to rescue me, to rescue you. But you won't ever get God's forgiveness unless you receive it. And to those who receive Him, He gives the power to become a child of God. Okay, when somebody gets married, you know what happens? You've got to say, I will commit my life to this person. And you can get married. If you stand there just say, oh, I believe in her, I believe in him. Oh, get on with it, man. Get on with it. Come on, get on with it. Oh, I believe in him. No, get on with it. You've got to say, I will. You've got to commit your life. And Jesus commits His life to you. Now, I'm just going to let Joe up in a minute, but I'm going to give away a little gospel, which is in here. It's the Gospel of John. And I give that to anybody who's willing to read it. Okay. That man there, you can, and I'll give you a children's book as well. Isn't that good? And it's so good to meet your grandma. That's really good. Fantastic. That was a tease. But I'm going to give you that, so don't go away. But ladies and gentlemen, it's true. We've got a nation full of atheists, and I ask them hard questions, and do you know, they all go quiet. They're a bunch of silence of the atheists. Do you know why? They can't tell us what happened in the beginning because they weren't there and Jesus was. They can't tell us what happens in the end because they don't know and they're guessing. And they can't tell us what life's all about. So if you've survived the womb, ladies and gentlemen, well done. Because the next thing you're going to have to survive is a trip to Switzerland or euthanasia. It's all coming our way with the atheists. And Jesus said, love life and love people. God bless you. Have a short break now. And I'll give that to my friend there. And his mum, not his grandmum. And I'm going to get your children's one as well, which is over on my stall over here. Thank you very much. We'll just have a little minute. If you want to wander up, I'll get one for you. Thank you.